to help you with this assignment of section views, I've created this 3D model for you in Revit. It's not perfect, it's not great, but it works. I think it should be able to help you visualize. So what's happening, students, is that I need to start cutting the section view. So I do have a section marker here in Revit. Of course, your assignment is going to be done in Civil 3D. But I did this in Revit so you can help you visualize this whole thing. And I created a 3D model, not of the whole site, but really just of the front area to demonstrate the one of the four section views. Everybody's going to be drawing four section views of the drawing of the building. The four section views is going to be on different size. One of them is going to be along the front, one along towards the side over here, one along the back, and one to the side over here. Of course, right now I'm just going to help you visualize one of them. The rest of them are going to be on your own, but really it's going to be the same concept. So, so section one. So I go back to section one here. And before we get to do that, you really need to be able to visualize the whole thing in 3D, really, on your mind, just by simply looking at a grading plan. So in here, you're going to look at the grading plan. This doesn't show the finished floor elevation, but you already have a finished floor elevation determined on your grading plan. I think it's like 90.83 is the finished floor elevation. We're going to have a sidewalk, and then this note number 5, if I'm not mistaken, is a landscaped area. So that means there is no concrete there, it's just landscaping, which is trees and shrubs. Number 10 is a sidewalk. We have another sidewalk over here. We have the parking area, and then we have a retaining rock wall on number 17. And those are based off the key notes here. We have a retaining rock wall, we have a concrete sidewalk, and things like that. So you really do need to be able to visualize. Just by looking at this plan in your mind, you should be able to visualize something like this in 3D. Of course, the whole site, not just the front, but this is what really you should be looking to see. Um, I put these cars, these vehicles, the shrubbery in the landscape area just so you can visualize. Of course, that is not part of a construction document. I put somebody here so you can kind of see the difference in elevation from one side to the other in the parking lot area, which is where we really do need to be putting in a retaining rock wall. And I apologize at this point when I created this video. Today, I don't know how to draw or model in a retaining wall, so we're just going to have the difference in elevation and dirt. Of course, we can't have that because this would topple over. But nonetheless, at least we have everything else here to be able to help you visualize what this section view should look like. Okay. So once again, that does need to be determined and visualized from just looking at a grading plan with looking at elevations and everything. Another thing that you can do is, or you don't have to, but I guess I'll do that for you, is in here in Google Maps. This is the actual site because this site does exist here in El Paso. You can kind of see the same thing that I modeled right in this area right in here. I don't want to zoom in too far because as soon as I do, it's going to go to a street view, but that's really what the site's going to look like. You can see the building here, the retaining wall here, the bigger retaining wall where we have that young lady standing right here in the sidewalk, and that curve. So let me get a little bit closer so you can visualize that a little bit better. And let me see if I can drop a little figure right in here. Very good. So this is the site, and once again, this is what I tried to model. I do apologize that the street name that I use is McKinley Boulevard. It's not Airway Boulevard. I changed the name of it just because I just wanted it to be something different. But essentially, it's really the same site that we're looking at. And again, this building does exist. You can go drive over there today if you wanted to. Um, but you can see the building, you can see the parking lot, and the retaining wall that I was not able to draw in Revit. But once again, I think I did a pretty good job of helping you visualize that. Now, once you cut the section view, what is that going to look like? Okay, so I'm gonna drop in a section box here in my 3D view, if I can find it, section box. And on that section box, I'm going to revolve it so that it aligns itself with the building a little bit better, because ultimately that's what the section view is going to look like. It's if and when you get to cut through, and I'm going to más o menos cut the section view so you can kind of see it right about here. As a matter of fact, I could probably drag it in here on this view, which should affect this one. Oh, that's kind of cool. I don't know if you can do that. So you can kind of move this one back in here, and at this point on the 3D view, that'll give us a better idea of what that's going to look like. So this is what I need to see, is I need to see the footing of the building, the sidewalk, the curb, the pavement. Obviously not a truck, but nonetheless I put that there just for visual purposes. The sidewalk, the landscape area, the existing curb, the existing pavement. That curb and pavement exists on that site. We're not going to remove Airway Boulevard, or I'm sorry, McKinley Boulevard. We're not going to remove this. We're going to leave it. And you can almost see here where you can have the existing curb that's going to stay and then the new curb. So it really depends on where we're cutting the section view. And I think I did do that also on the model where you have this curve here. And I even put it under existing. If I can change, there it is. The face grid is existing, and this curb right in here was actually done under new construction. They put that new construction because at one point that curb, there was a driveway here on the older site before they demolished it to put in this new site that we're designing, quote unquote, even though it's been designed and built already. So that driveway is gone, and they had to replace that curb because they didn't want a driveway there anymore, which is what I modeled in here. And that does show up on our grading plan here. As you can see, right in here is where we have our new curb and gutter and the existing curb and gutter, and you can kind of see the existing concrete apron that is gone now with the new curb. And essentially, this is what you're going to be seeing on your section view. Okay. So I did this on a live 3D model so you can kind of see it. I'm going to, and I already created this, I have a section view placed already. So I'm going to go to the section view to show you on your final construction document, this is what you should be able to see. You're going to see the finished, the footings and foundations, a wall. We don't really care what this looks like or the roof. We're just going to show this little representation. Remember, we are civil engineers. We're not really worried about the architecture of the building. We have the sidewalk, and I will tell you right now, this is not a good thing. That's not a good thing. You don't really want to see that specifically on a section view, which is why I like section views, because sometimes these engineers do wrong things or a bad design. Our own engineers. So this is something I would highlight because what's going to happen is if you're standing in here, you're going to have a step down to the sidewalk. That's not something we want. So most of the time whenever I have that, I still draw it the way they have it drawn on the design, whether it's wrong or right, and then just show this final document to the engineer to tell them, hey, I'm not sure this is correct, or at least show it to them and let them determine whether it's right or wrong. But I will tell you, this to me does look suspicious. I would draw it that way either way, even though I'll tell you right now by experience, I don't think it's right. But nonetheless, that's not our design. So you see the sidewalk, the curb, the pavement, and once again, that's pretty much what you're going to be seeing or visualizing. You're never going to have a 3D model, I'll tell you right now, anything this extensive on any project, but I did this for you guys to help you visualize what that's going to look like. The sidewalk over here, you'll see that over here on this part, and then we have our existing curb. That I'm gonna on my previous videos, I showed you how to draw that with hidden lines, landscaped area, and in this case doesn't have the Lego landscape area in here, but if your section view happens to show the landscape area, then you do need to put that in. Like right in here, you would just not, you would have the sidewalk end, and then you just show dirt, kind of like this area here, and that's what this looks like. And by the way, this Revit model is in your McKinley retail folder that you have for inserting blocks and all that. It's in there, so you're welcome to open this Revit model and visualize it and move things around. Of course, it's read only. You can't really save it, but nonetheless, you'll be able to visualize it. So that's what we need to be able to see. Once again, our final construction document would look like that. One thing that I was not able to model is the retaining rock wall. So I do need you to draw in that retaining rock wall, what that looked like. Well, a retaining rock wall, you'd have to look at the construction details that were drawn already, but you would have a footing right in here, which is usually about 1 foot deep. And then you have the height of the rock wall, and to this is a surface where it's considered retaining. It's retaining the difference in elevation from one to the other. The height from here up this way, we don't know that. As a matter of fact, it doesn't show up on our detail. So for now, just go ahead and draw it 1 foot higher from this elevation. The retaining rock wall is 1 foot wide this way, and I'm going to come here. And then from here, you actually draw it at a 45-degree angle. So this is what the retaining rock wall would look like. And of course, you trim all this stuff off. Here you draw in the little gravel to represent rock wall. And then in here, you would hatch it with a little hatch pattern like concrete. So that's really what the retaining rock wall would look like. I apologize, it's not modeled in, but I just didn't know how to do it in Revit. But nonetheless, I think everything else will give you a better idea of what this is supposed to look like. Okay. So that's probably the only thing that's not modeled in. Now, some things that don't show up on the model that students miss all the time. It's besides the improvements, pavements, retaining rock wall, sidewalks. We also need to show property lines. Where is the property line in reference to our section view? So you can see this bold line. It's actually a phantom line where it's long dash, short dash, short dash, long dash. That's the property line, and that one exists all the way around. So we do need to show the property line on our section view. And if you notice, the property line is along the face of the retaining wall. So on your section view, once you get to draw that one, I guess I'll draw back the retaining rock wall again, where we have the retaining rock wall here roughly, and then we have this guy here, and then drawn like that. So then here we also need to show our our property line. So the property line will be on the face. So you just draw, I guess let me put in a bolder line right in here. The phantom line would be like this, and then well, obviously along the face of the wall. And then remember how we always have sidewalks usually within the right of way, and then that's where you're going to start labeling that, and you would put text. Um, Let me check. Let me pick a different color. Just you can have maybe like a green or something. So here you would put the text, dimension line, extension line, and all that. So you put this right in here, and I have you put a note here that this is McKinley Boulevard right of way. Uh, with text and all, McKinley, all that. So you label that, and this is part of the McKinley right of way, and you see that on your sample sections that I gave you. But a lot of students never put this property line and this note, but it is very important to show where is that right of way in reference to our view, our section view. So again, make sure you put that in and label it accordingly, and that would be on this in this case in particular. This is the right of way, this is private property, and you're going to see that in different sides of the view. So you're going to see that on the front view in here. You're going to see a property line over here, so you make sure you draw the property line where it exists on that section view. So every section view you draw, because I'm going to have you guys draw it from the building all the way to past the property line, I do need to see that property line where it's at. What is this going to look like? I don't know. You're going to have to determine what that's going to look like. I will tell you, you're going to see some standard curb and gutter. You're going to see some a standard curb over here, some pavement. You're going to show the elevations. Again, you're going to go back to the other views, the other videos to show you what that's supposed to look like. But nonetheless, hopefully this helps you. Again, this McKinley Revit model is available. You can look at it in 3D and visualize it and take section views off and whatever the case may be. And of course, I'm always here for help if you have any questions. But nonetheless, hopefully this does help you in what that section view is supposed to ultimately look like.